welcome
Dr. Davida Gill. Dr. Davida Gill is an author, educator, licensed social worker, and transformative life coach. She's also the founder of Mahogany Unlimited. She has steered the lives of numerous children and adults and embraced and celebrate their authentic selves, integrating the arts, entertainment, mental health, and education. With a background in the performing arts, Dr. Gill has incorporated her creative talent into her daily life work, whether consulting, developing enriching programs, facilitating training, or working with her therapy and coaching clients in her private practice. She has led a myriad of training sessions, working with nonprofits, for-profits, schools, as well as the community and governmental entities. Some of Dr. Gill's current interests include applying the biopsychosocial model, the cognitive behavioral model, and Johari's Window, not only to her own lives, but to the lives of her clients in order to achieve and attain the greatest possible transformation and success. Dr. Gill is currently creating an online academy comprised of group coaching, workshops, and private coaching services for creatives and out-of-the-box thinkers. She received her doctorate of philosophy and doctorate of education from Pepperdine University, her master's from the University of Southern California, and her bachelor's from Cal State Dominguez Hills. She is joined today by two musicians, her daughter, Mrs. Simone Bell, and singer and songwriter, and her son-in-law, musician and producer, Mr. Josh White Jr. Please welcome them to our Lifelong Learning Women's Forum.
Thank you. It is such an honor to be here today with all of you, both in person and online. And today we're going to take you on a emotional journey. Is that okay? Okay. And today's going to be very interactive. So without further ado, today we're talking about unmasking the noise within. And this is a project that I've been working on both with my EDD and my PhD, really connecting the arts, mental health, and education. And so as we do that, today's intention is to provide an awareness of music and to understand the effects of music has on our mind, body, and spirit. So let's connect for a minute. Is that okay? What does music mean to you? Happiness, joy, movement, healing. Okay. And how are you feeling prior to driving here today? A fun experience? Okay. Excited? Okay. And when you walked through the doors and you heard music and you heard singing, did it change your mood? Did it change your thought patterns? Okay. So today we're going to be talking about integrating three fields of study: arts and entertainment, the field of mental health, and the field of education. Now, I'm going to be talking about these individually in its own separate category, but through today, this morning, we're going to integrate them. So individually and collectively, we're going to talk about these three fields of study. So in arts and entertainment, it's a tool for artists to conceptualize the power of music, both internally and externally. Think about self-awareness. We'll make a positive shift of music as artists write, they compose, they listen to music based on their own learning of what they want to achieve, but also what they want to put out there into the world. From a clinical standpoint, it's an adjunct tool to a clinician's biopsychosocial assessment. So that means they're biological, psychological, and social tools that they use to see clients to enhance the exploration of their client. So when we use it from that standpoint, it helps us to identify creative interventions, identify creative tools and coping skills to meet the desired treatment goals. And from the field of education, it's a guide for educators to enhance the learning process, integrating the left and right hemispheres of the brain, but also analytical components of inductive and deductive reasoning, the problem-solving process with innovation, with creativity, with flexibility, and with adaptability. Now we're going to explore music through lyrics. was your interpretation of the lyrics? What did it mean? Heartache? I'm sorry? Conflict? Unreciprocated. Okay. This was one of Simone's original songs. Simone, can you, before I go there, how did it make you feel? What's an adjective you would use? Lost? And how did it affect your mood? Reflective? Okay. Simone, can you provide them the interpretation of that song?
Yes. So I wrote this song about a love triangle. And it's kind of about how each person in this love triangle is really confused about what's going on, what's going to happen in the future. Am I going to end up with this person? Or are they going to end up with the other person? And kind of just not knowing how their relationship is going to end up. And so, yeah, it's kind of just about how the love that each person is trying to give the other is not being reciprocated. And it's kind of just an ongoing cycle.
So now we're going to explore music through composition.
Okay, so does everybody know the song Crazy by Knost? It goes, I remember when I lost my mind. Yeah, if you know it, sing along. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions had an echo in so much space. Now we're gonna go to the chorus. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Possibly. And I hope that you are having the time of your life. But think twice. That's my only advice. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy?
So let me ask you, how did the change of the tempo and the version of this song change from the original version that you participated in? How did it change for you?
When it's more melodic, I think you pay attention more to the lyrics, where if it's, a bunch of clapping, we can kind of get lost in the feeling of it, which was more upbeat, where the second version felt more somber.
Music can enhance our learning and guide our understanding of human behavior, of ourselves and our life. So it analyzes our cognitive processing and emotional regulation that leads to emotional and physical changes that you felt. The composition of music initially captures your attention. So this is the vibration of the rhythm, the melody, the tempo, or harmony. The lyrics ignite our personal experiences and memories. So it's a pathway to transform our thoughts and our mood and really takes us on an emotional journey. It's been said that whether we're listening to music or lyrics or just the sounds, that music sounds the way that emotions feel. And it really provides us a pathway to how we understand, react to, respond to, or experience the world. So we're going to take it to a theoretical standpoint. If we were to look at the Johari window, the traditional sense says that awareness of self through 4 windows, the open, blind, hidden, and unknown. So the open being, I'm going to tell you about myself openly, and you're going to tell me about yourself. And we're all just one. If we look at the blind axis, it's the part of us that we don't see in ourselves, but others can see in us, such as prejudice. If we look at the private window, I know something that you don't know, but I'm not going to reveal it to you because I'm uncomfortable. This might be your goals, your dreams, your insecurities, your fear. And the unknown potential is the aspect of things that you don't know and I don't know, but it's so deep inside of us that's just ready to be unveiled. We just haven't discovered it yet. So the Johari window looks at both our internal and our external self. If we look at it from the unmasked lens of music, it creates an internal awareness of individuals and perceptions of others.
I'm not surprised, not everything lasts. I've broken my heart so many times I stopped keeping track. Talk myself in, I talk myself out. I get all worked up and I let myself down. I tried so very hard not to lose it. I came up with a million excuses. I thought of every possibility. And I know someday it'll all turn out. You'll make me work so we can work to work it out. And I promise you, kid, that I'll give so much more than I get. I just haven't met you yet.
So as you see, she went through every single one of those windows. She went through the open, the blind, the hidden, and the unknown potential. Now, let's take it one step further. Let's look at it through conflict transformation theory. The traditional lens says the transformation of perceptions of issues, actions, and other people or groups. This looks at the external part of ourself. From the unmasked lens of music, music addresses the issues of society to generate change. Let's look at that for a minute.
I was born by the river in a little town, oh, just like the river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gon' come. Oh, yes, it will.
Now, let's look at it through the cognitive behavioral model. The traditional lens says the process of how our thoughts affect our emotions, thereby affecting our behavior. This is more looking at the internal part of ourself. But if we look at it through the unmasked lens, music identifies thoughts affecting our emotions, affecting our behavior. Let's take a listen.
Hope you get well again, like nothing and no time passed by. You were just well again, the sparkles never left your eyes. Though I know it's okay to cry, don't want to say goodbye. So I'll see you soon. I'll be talking to the moon. I know that you'll be dancing like you always do. And when the nighttime fades, I'll see you in the day, in every ray of sunshine. So I know it'll be fine, because I'll see you soon.
That was another one of her original works. So as you see, she went through the process of the traditional lens, but then she put it from the artistic standpoint of the idea, the interpretation, her own self-awareness of how she was feeling, and it came out into a song of music and lyrics. So now let's look at the biopsychosocial. When we look at the biopsychosocial, the traditional lens is understanding through the biological, psychological, and social lens. It looks at both the internal and external. But from the unmasked lens, music explains the etiology behind human behavior. Let's take a listen.
The moment I wake up, before I put on my makeup, I say a little prayer for you. And combing my hair now, and wondering what dress to wear now. I say a little prayer for you. Forever and ever, you stay in my heart, and I will have you together forever. We never will part. Oh, how I love you together forever. We never will be to live without you. It only mean heartbreak for me.
So as you see, when you look at it from the biological, go ahead, yes, please. Yes. When we look at it from the biological, psychological, and social lens, we're looking at the whole aspect of who we are, not just one aspect. So the biological aspect is really looking at the internal part, right? Something that we can't change. It could be our height. It could be the aspect of our vulnerabilities, our physical health, things of that sort. But we look at it from tone standpoint, from the rhythm standpoint, when it comes from the biological. It's what's innate in us. It's what we're born with us. You realize that we all have rhythm. Our first drum was our heartbeat. And so when we start looking at it from those standpoints, we move into the psychological aspect where we start looking at our thoughts, our dreams, our insecurities, all of those things that make us who we are, how we adapt to situations, our temp, right? Are we more high maintenance or low maintenance, right? Our personality, it comes from the psychological standpoint. And when we look at the social aspect, we're thinking about how we connect together. What schools we went to, our religious affiliation, what organizations we belong to. That's all part of that. And that's what that song conveys. She's getting ready to get out and do her thing, right? And so we take it to that certain type of aspect. So now let's start doing the unmasking process through noise. First, through the arts and entertainment, it soothes troubled minds and enhances learning and performance. And so when we start looking at it from this standpoint, the composition of music, it can elicit calm emotions and increase satisfaction when feeling fear or scared or happy or sad. It provides a platform to discuss shared stories of whether it's struggles of triumphs or tribulations. The lyrics provide the narrative, but it's the music that provides the color. It provides the narrative. It provides the texture and the setting and the background, as we all heard today. If we look at it from the conflict transformation theory, I want you to think about this morning. This morning, you heard so many different ups and downs as you went through the ebbs and flows of music, right? And you felt it. You felt it deep inside of yourself. We took you on an emotional journey of self-discovery. And so as you start looking at conflict transformation theory, it provides that platform to transform emotions and perceptions of issues and actions and people, inequality. We think about things of social justice, right? And so utilizing the experience to help us map out what's going on in the world through emotional experience provides us that personal reflection of who we are to enhance our learning, what we're going through and what others are going through. It also provides a more in-depth experience and expression of conversation. It allows us to have a dialogue. It allows us to learn both individually and collectively where we stand on certain points of what's going on in the world. If we look at it through mental health, music taps into our thoughts and emotions, thereby affecting our behavior. So we can look at it from memories or personal experiences that are parallels to life. We can look at it through social interactions, the biological, psychological, and social aspects. But as we look at it from that standpoint, we have to understand that Human behavior is part of what we do, is part of who we are, and it marks the parallels of life of what we go through, incorporating both interpersonal relationships and social structures. And so with that, when we start looking at it, we're looking at the biological, psychological, and social components of our everyday life and what that is. The biological can be the aspects of body movement. So think of communication and non-communication. Think in terms of igniting fight or flight responses. What happens to us? Think in terms of how we adapt to life situations. Anxiety, stress. The psychological evokes mood regulation. So in that, think of thoughts and memories and images that you had since childhood. I saw some of you guys swaying. You're like, oh my God, I remember that. You think of a certain situation, that image comes to mind. Where did I hear that song, right? That's that psychological aspect. It's bringing back old memories that you may have forgot about. And so when we start looking at it from that standpoint, it ignites that cognitive process within ourselves, how we make decisions on a daily process, how we interact with others, because it brings back that old good feeling. That social aspect describes the parallels of life. So here, the triumphs and tribulations, the ebbs and the flows of life. Music connects people regardless of their intersectionality. It provides the experience of a sacred space to enhance and embrace both the introvert and the extrovert without fear of exclusion, criticism, or judgment. Think of people like Michael Jackson. He brought everybody together just by some songs that he sang. Think about the Beatles. They brought people together just by some of the songs that we sing, and we can go on and on and on. Whether you're an introvert or extrovert, they love the song, they love the music, they love the rhyme. From the cognitive behavioral model, music and lyrics didn't change the situation. It didn't change it at all. It didn't change the storyline. It was still the same. What changed was your interpretive thoughts. What changed was how it affected your emotions, thereby affecting your behavior. When Simone did something fast, you were clapping. Same situation, but when she slowed it down, everyone just kind of stopped and just listened to the lyrics. Same situation, it didn't change. It was your thoughts that changed, and it was your behavior that changed. Therefore, we have to identify and describe what our feelings and our moods are. If someone asks you how you're feeling, 9 times out of 10, a lot of us will say, I'm good, I'm fine, I'm okay. But what does that even mean? Right? You can't describe that. That doesn't mean anything because you don't want people in your business. So you don't share that. But if you say, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm mad, I'm excited, you know what that means. Same thing with lyrics, same thing with emotions. It brings that out of us. And the Johari window, if we look at it from the biopsychosocial lens, you're challenged today to disclose feelings and emotions publicly. I don't know you, you don't know me. So you may have at first been in that bottom window, that private window, like, I ain't saying anything to her. But then when you started hearing other people talk, you went to window 1, where you're like, this is how I felt. This is what I thought. And then some of you may have been in the window 4, like, you know what? I don't know what that made me feel like. I wonder. And as you started hearing people talk, you started uncovering different thoughts and emotions. Yeah, I did feel like that. It's a Johari window. So now let's look at it through education. Music enhances learning through transformational healing. The idea behind it is that we look at healing, we look at transformation, we look at solace and diversion. When I originally started working on this was actually my first dissertation when I was getting my EDD, and it was interesting because I took it to a different level through the research. And a lot of the research was showing that when you look at music, most people follow 2 main reasons why they listen to music, even though there's a whole lot of others. But the first one is based on our feelings, our emotions. So for example, if we're sad, we tend to listen to sad songs to kind of validate how we're feeling, even though as a therapist, you're like, don't do that, right? We don't want to validate that. But we tend to do that because it's just in us. We want to feel an external validation that I'm going to be okay, and someone gets us. On the other aspect, from the diversion standpoint, we tend to get distracted with anxiety and stress. So what do? We put on some music, kind of distract us. We start dancing. Okay, I don't feel like doing this. Let me get distracted for a minute. And that might go from rhythm and blues to gospel to R&B to rock to heavy metal. Whatever your music motif is, it uses you as a catalyst to transform how you were feeling. So when I was going through cancer, my biggest thing was, okay, gospel music every single day, all day. to get me through going through aggressive treatment. So it's the same type of thing. I use it as my avenue to transform how I was feeling, to be able to distract me from the pain that I was going through. Does that make sense? Okay. So education, and when we look at education, again, music is a healer of the internal and external. And so when we start looking at this from this standpoint, it creates an internal awareness in ourselves from an external lens as well as an internal lens. And so it can affect our perceptions of others as well as ourselves if we really think about it. The Johari window, again, as we look at it, is within our own field of awareness, whether it's internal or external. Are we thinking about it or are we not thinking about it? Does someone have to bring it to our attention? It transforms the behavior, the motivation, our internal and our external thoughts. But it also creates a safe platform for all of us as far as the vibration, the frequency of music. How does that feel to us? It gives a voice to the voiceless, and it transforms our mind from the hidden window to the public window, which is what we did today. Think of it from the Johari window standpoint again, from the educational standpoint. Think about whether you were cautious this morning when you were coming in, like, what is she about to have me do today? What am I about to get into, right? And then you started feeling, should I self-disclose or should I not self-disclose? Your thoughts, your emotions, because it leaves you vulnerable. What are people going to think? What are people going to do? How should I interact with everybody? I don't know them. They don't know me. But when Simone and Josh started talking about what their songs and their rhythms started, you're like, oh, I get it now. Okay. Right? And so I want you to notice whether you moved between those different quadrants throughout this morning. Did you move from the hidden to the public? Did you move to more of the private? Did someone jog something in your memory like, wow, okay, interesting. So this may have been caused by the lyrics. It could have been caused by the rhythm. It could have been caused by the frequency. It could cause because someone gave you some thought-provoking ideas that you didn't always already think about for yourself. It was a safe platform to have an exchange of words, to self-disclose your thoughts, to self-disclose your emotions, to known strangers, just through mere interaction of music. So now we're going to take music and lyrics to a different level of unmasking. We're going to come at it from the artist standpoint. So the theoretical components behind music, Simone's going to talk about the lyrics, melody, and harmony, where Josh is going to talk about the rhythm, tone, and tuning.
Hi, okay. So some of the things that I learned while I was at school, I was studying songwriting. And so some of the things that we learned about creating music in my songwriting classes was how the lyrics, harmony, and the melody all impact the audience in different ways. And so if you just focus on the lyrics of songs are basically poems. You can take them apart and put them by themselves, but once you add the chords and the melody to it, it creates something completely different, gives you a whole new emotion. So some of the ways that artists create different emotions is through harmony. And so some of the things we learned about happy chords and sad chords. So happy chord would be a major chord. They all sound bright and full and happy, whereas a minor chord would be considered a sad chord. It's got a kind of darker tone, a darker like feel to it. So it's going to make you feel sad or somber or make you feel like mysterious. Whereas the others are like, oh, hi, I'm happy. It's a bright day, bright sunny day. So a lot of artists will take happy chords and put them over sad lyrics to kind of make their audience feel like a different array of emotions and vice versa. Sad lyrics over happy chords. So artists usually like mix it up just to kind of give their audience the feel that they're trying to convey. And the melody plays a really big part in that. Whereas say in Let It Go from Frozen, she goes for the big high note at the end. You feel that sense of intensity and that rush of emotion. Whereas if she had gone, let it go, and just cut it short and did like a low note, you wouldn't have felt that rush. You wouldn't have felt the impact that that song gives you, or any song in general. So the melody is really the direction of where the artist wants that story to go. Same example as when we did Crazy earlier, the faster version. That was how they originally did it. Whereas our version, we slowed it down, made you feel a different sort of emotion. So me changing the melody or changing the tempo, changing the harmony is going to make a different impact. So that's kind of how songwriters figure out how they want their audience to feel.
Nice. And to add on, as drummers and percussion as well, I want to say rhythm section, which would include the drummer, the bass player, and most likely the keyboard player. As a rhythm section, our job is to basically enhance everything she just said. To take our instruments and take her story, her song, and push that agenda forward. As a drummer, we focus more on rhythm and tuning. Basically, rhythm really is important for consistency. As Dr. Gill said earlier, all of us, our first drums were our harp. That's the most consistent drum we can think of. If that stops, then we have an issue, right? So it's the same thing with music. It's like to give it a consistent groove to, get you moving, get you into it, what's happening next. So a good example for that is there's this thing that we drummers, well, all musicians call backbeat. A backbeat is basically the beat that falls naturally. It's the same thing that we clap, the 2 and 4, when you start to feel it. Like if I started without even a song right now, I'm pretty sure everyone can join me. And now that's our backbeat. We got a whole song. Now this is a nice band. I think I'm going to take you guys with me. And to go along with that, so after we got that consistency, we want to add on to that. And that's where also tuning comes in, choosing which drum, how to hit it, how loud to hit it, where to hit it. And with that, we are able to add character now to this consistency, which I want to say it depends on the artist and what they like, but it also depends on the band and how their chemistry is. So let me see if I get a good example. Let me explain before I do this. So what I'm trying to explain is giving something familiar to everyone to where you hear it, you know what it is. So for example, here we go. I don't have to go anywhere beyond that, right? I mean, this one over here is ready to start. The next one, let's see if we can guess this one. Yeah, you know that one by Michael Jackson. So yeah, those things are those rhythms are like familiar rhythms that we use to enhance what the artist is doing. Oh, I came up with this example earlier today too. Another example is going to games, basketball games, football games, baseball games. We all know the let's go, whatever. Because it's familiar and we all can join in. And as going back again as a rhythm section, that's how we add to what she just said to give you guys the full experience.
Let me ask both of you, how did writing lyrics and composing help you express your thoughts and feelings and emotions when you were at Berklee College of Music and through life's journey?
Well, for me, writing lyrics and composing music has always just been a release, a way for me to get my emotions out. And so that they're not just hovering inside of me, I can kind of turn them into something tangible, something I can edit, something that I can change. And so that's kind of what it's always been for me. And it's also turned into something that I can use for others, where my friends will come up to me and tell me a story, or I'll see somebody fighting or having an argument, and I'll be like, that's good material. And I'll write about it. I'll make a story about it. And then later on, it usually ends up in me relating to it, whether it's years later or months later, I can find a way to heal from it. And that's my goal, to have others heal from my music as well, whether it's about me or about somebody else. So, yeah.
For sure. And
oh no, you go.
Oh, yeah. So let's go back to the question.
So how did composing your music help you express your thoughts and feelings through life's journey as it relates to enhanced learning?
Okay. For me, it happened, I want to say it goes back to when I was a kid. So I always wanted to play drums for my entire life, longer than I could remember. And also, longer than I can remember, I was told that I can't play drums. Everyone always told me, no, you're too small, you're too young. There's always an excuse. So I learned many other instruments, brass instruments, keyboards, bass, because no one wanted to listen to what I wanted to do, right? So eventually, it wasn't until 10th grade I got a chance to actually go full on into playing drums. And that's kind of where like the idea of who Josh is changed, because now I was given that voice. To me, it became a voice where when no one else wanted to listen to me or they had a hard time understanding what I'm saying, oh, let me just hop behind the kid. I'll show you. I'll explain it to you. And that's what it became for me. And when it comes to motivation, besides other musicians and artists, I am a very emotional musician. Like behind the drum kit, I get lost. My eyes go closed. My heart starts, racing or whatever the music is going, and I'm just in a whole nother space. And through that, I want to be able to, share that with other people. Like music can be a sanctuary, whether you're playing it or whether you're listening to it. As simple as, like we did earlier, closing your eyes and just getting lost in it. Sometimes, well, all the times it works for me, but sometimes it's pretty good. Does that answer? Yeah.
I'd agree with that. Motivation for me also comes from my emotions, and also just my peers and fellow songwriters seeing what other people are creating really inspires me to make more and create more.
Thank you. Thank you. So just as a reflection, when we look at arts and entertainment, musicians understand the power of the musical platform. They understand from composing to songwriting to where they want to create a new experience for others, whether they want to write, compose, or listen to music. The cognitive behavioral model when dealing with emotional roadblocks helps us to really unmask ourselves. This knowledge can be used for musicians or non-musicians to really see where we are, personal, societal. Remember, that doesn't change what's going on in the world, but how we think about the situations changes. How we want to purvey, how we want to pursue, how we want to be resilient, that's the part that changes. It affects our behavior, remember. And so whether we're composing music, whether we're listening to a song, whether we're just listening to a song on the radio, in our backyard, doing dishes, it makes us change the way what we're doing. It makes us change the feeling that we're having, whether it's positive or negative. We get to control that environment just through the lens of music. From the Johari Window standpoint, music can use it as a funnel for self-identity. We can use it as a sense of exploration, a way to escape from the realities of life sometimes. It can give us a deeper knowledge of our interpersonal self-awareness of ourselves and those of others, and how we want to interact with others as well. And then think about it from the terms of, it enables us to be able to be consciously aware of who we are and who we want to be able to look at artistry, our own perceptions, the perceptions of others, as well as what's actually received and perceived. And is it actually accurate information? From the mental health standpoint, as we reflect on that, music is an adjunct to be able to unmask the cognitive process and emotional well-being. It incorporates utilizing creative tools to be able to use music and use lyrics as a funnel to be able to make it as a healing agent, to express, to explore, to be able to see the world through a different lens, and to be able to look at ourselves outside of common language when we can't speak it for ourselves. It provides a more in-depth analysis to be able to look at the internal and external systems of life, as well as those that affect emotional and behavioral transformational change and what we want to do and what we want to see within that. It also provides an avenue to be embedded into the self-reflective discovery of conversations. When the conversations are hard, we can use music as that catalyst, which I use when I teach. You don't understand this? Let's talk about this. And we all put a song on and we'll dissect it. I even use it in my therapy practice. If they can't explore, let me put on some music. I want you to just do some journaling about what's going on in your mind. That takes it to a whole different level of really in-depth of what's going on. So it helps us with that meditative state of mechanism to be able to look for modification and mood stabilization as well. As we look at it through education, think about it in terms of creating an internal awareness for individuals and the perceptions of others, how it enhances capacity and the intellectual ability to grow to a different level, tailoring both auditory, visual, and kinesthetic learning, which you all did today. We did all three lenses. Looking at from the Johari window and the transformation theory, it can be utilized to increase students' awareness and transformation of perceptions that they may have not already realized regarding issues, regarding actions, regarding people, and regarding groups. So let me ask you, what was something about today about yourself that you didn't realize, or maybe a new revelation that you had as far as self-discovery or an aha moment for you?
So you had mentioned gospel music, and I'm a cancer survivor too. And what I do every morning is I listen to Elvis Presley gospel music, specifically How Great Thou Art. The other thing I listen to is 528 Hertz Healing Love. And, I really didn't understand why I did this. I just know that it set my heart where I want it to be, which is God-centered with love, joy, and peace. So, like I said, I didn't understand why I did. I know it just makes me feel good. And also then I can stay in that love vibration all day long in my interactions with other people, within myself. So I constantly try to stay on that vibrational level of love, joy, and peace. So thank you for helping to explain what I do, because I really didn't know why I did it today.
Great, yes. Anybody else? Any revelations and something that was more like self-discovery? Yes.
First, I would like to say the megahertz. Yes, 439 is my beat. I go to sleep to the 439, kind of puts you in an alpha mode, sleep mode. Very peaceful, very calming, and it just heals our cells and our bodies. Simone, there were songs that you played today that I've heard on the radio, and I go like this. I had to turn it up or turn it down or turn it off. But what you did today for me was turn it on. And you took like a bar and then you just unraveled it for me and exposed it. And I thought, is that what I've been missing? So I want the Simone versions now.
I second that.
Yeah, it was just, you unraveled it. And I thought, is that what you said? But then you talked about the melody and how it changes the high chord, the minor and the major. And I thought, is that what they're doing to me on the radio?
Yeah.
So now I'm going to be more attentive and intentional when I'm listening to whatever it is I'm listening to for the majors and the minors. And then I wanted to share that I think the presentation was just brilliant on so many multidimensional levels. And I took notes on how music is healing, music is a sanctuary, music is exploration. And I wanted to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I noticed that when I choose music, sometimes I avoid certain music because I know it's going to evoke an emotion.
Yeah.
And so I have a question for you in your practice, and you talked about how you use it in your practice. And you're trying to get a client to evoke an emotion, I guess. How do you choose what music you're going to put on?
I make sure it doesn't have lyrics.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because lyrics can change the thought process. And so you'll start journaling based on the words and based on your own emotions. So whether I'm doing therapy or doing coaching, or even when I teach at Pepperdine, when I play music, I never have a lyrics. I only choose, I choose something that's completely instrumental, that's universal. And then whatever comes out, comes out. And then we can explore more deeply why they chose, I have them recite back to me what was said, and I'll start mapping out what they're saying in a whole different level. And they're just like, whoa, this is crazy. But because my background is actually the arts, I used to be a dancer, I was an actress, I played musical instruments. And then as a therapist and as a coach, I blend all those things together. And so even when I started writing, I'm also a literary artist as well. And so even when I write children's books, I blend pieces of the art into thoughts and emotions to evoke aspects of what they're going through. So it can be easy conversations, because a lot of times you can't have a conversation with a child or an adult, but you can through a storybook, or you can through lyrics. And so it's a different way to always integrate those three fields together. One thing that people don't understand a lot of the times is they always ask me, well, you can't blend arts, music, and I'm like, watch, let me tell you something. What you're sitting on, these chairs are art. Someone had to create it in their mind before they made it a thing. The pens that you're writing were art. It was an idea before it was a thing. That's art. When you sit on there, there's an emotion. I hope I don't fall. I hope it's sturdy. That thought, that emotion comes in. If something's rickety, you go to another chair, right? That's an emotional thought. And then you might move, which is an action. So they're always interconnected no matter what you do. When you're driving down the street and you see a car, you're looking at the frequency of how fast that car is going. Should I slow down? Should I not slow down? It's the emotions, a thought. And then you decide if you should put the brakes on or not. Then you're always looking at the color of the car. It's always a thing. So the idea is that you can always integrate those three fields of study. It's just about the creativity of doing it and being more intentional with how we do it. So for example, if I say, I don't want you to think about the Statue of Liberty, and I don't want you to think about her having her hand in her, and I don't, her hand up in the air, and I don't want you to think about that is surrounded by water. What are you thinking about? Same thing. It's an intention. The situation doesn't change. She's still there in the water with a hand up, right? But how you think about it may be very different. And then if you know the background behind it, then that takes on another, concept. So that's how I do it.
Could you elaborate? We've heard about like hertz and beats per minute. Some people need something slower. Some people need something faster in order to get up and down. Could you,
Bless you.
expand on that a bit more for those that maybe are not familiar with that?
Sure. Do you want to expand on it, or do you want me?
Sure. The best way to put it is to generally look at music as energy. So that's where the different hertz come in. And if you go into that whole study, you'll find out that different hertz affect different energy, different moods within the human body. Of course, we know we ourselves are energy. So that would be the best way to look at it. You could also search up the different hertz and see what they affect or what they help with. And most of the time, well, for us, we wouldn't say it's hertz. We would say it's the key of the song. But that specific key, when transferred into frequency or energy, it turns into hertz. The other thing you said was the hertz and the.
Can I add something
Yeah, go
really
ahead.
quick? Another thing that I thought that might help is kind of how different genres affect your mood. So there's like a study that says classical music helps calm the heart rate, calm you down, and also increases brain function and brain activity. So they say to listen to classical music like when you're studying, or have babies listen to it so that their brain function and brain activity is heightened. So like just different areas like within the like music and how the key, the tempo, it all affects your brain activity and how your heart is beating. The faster the music, the faster your heart's going to beat. The slower the music, the slower your heart rate's going to be. So all of it, like the energy, all has effects on you.
Also volume, don't forget.
The volume
too,
is,
yes,
the volume is very important because you can, and it's interesting because there's been so many studies that have been done with how the vibration of the music and how the rhythm of the music changes inside of us. And a lot of, like they were saying, a lot of it has to do with energy. So if you want to feel like your heart beat faster, you're going to listen to something that's high tempo, right? Rock or something that's like really, that's going to make your heart, palpitate, right? If you need to slow it down, then you're going to listen to something more soothing like jazz, or like something that's very instrumental, like, if you want to go into Bach, or, something that's very like, that's something that mellows you out, like meditation music or things of that. So we start listening to music also when you look at people who have ailments, whether that's dementia or things of that sort. And so a lot of times what will happen is you'll put on music for patients who, for example, have some ailments like memory loss. And so you'll put on music that they remember back in their childhood. So for example, when my father was in the hospital, he was going through some things. He wasn't in so much pain. He couldn't understand what was going on with as far as a physical therapist. He couldn't focus. He was just always just nonstop doing things. He was in a car accident. So I said, can I just do something for a second? So I put on the Temptations, and all of a sudden he's just, and everyone, because he went back to a former age when he loved music that he remembered. He's a Motown fanatic, and so I just kept putting on Motown. And so what helped him heal was that I had the doctors keep Motown on 24/7 in his hospital room. And he started walking again and started healing again, because he was used to his old school when he was alive and singing and playing the sax and doing all the stuff that he was doing from childhood on up. And so music is a healing, again, it's a healing process. I wouldn't play something that's heavy that number one, he wouldn't understand, he didn't get, or that would race his heartbeat. I'm going to play something that's going to be more tempoed so that he can really feel the vibration and feel the rhythm. Because even if you can't feel it or hear it, you can feel it in your feet, especially if you're barefoot. And so you kind of think of it from those terms as well. So I just want to end with music can change the world because it can change people. Thank you.